about. Our first speaker is Dawn Fife. She's a mother of a 9-year-old child and has lived in Western Gartocharn all her life. She's currently managing a voluntary sector project that supports young survivors of childhood sexual abuse in Glasgow. She's been involved in community campaigns and politics on various levels for 30 years, although it's hard to believe looking at it. And she's coordinating the Western Bartonshire Women's Campaign, Women for Independence campaign. She's committed to supporting women and men to access the information they need to make a decision about September's referendum, and she believes that the only way to hold politicians accountable is to have the power to vote them out, something that we have not been able to do with Westminster for many decades. So, Dawn Fife.
Thank you very much for allowing me to speak tonight. Coming down here from Uncle Patrick, where I stay, was an absolute pleasure, and I couldn't help but smiling away to myself, as I've done so often in this campaign. But tonight was particularly nice. It's a beautiful night, and coming to a beautiful place to talk about a beautiful country and where we want to go next. So thank you very much for letting me come along. I'm here to discuss Women for Independence, and it's a bit concerning that we need a Women for Independence. It'll be wonderful when we don't need that one day. But often what we'll hear is that women have been indecisive, that can't make up their minds, that they're possibly the group that will win the election, but also, on the other hand, possibly the group that will lose the referendum, think about it tomorrow. The referendum by default if they aren't convinced about what's happening. To be honest, up until now it's been great to have women being indecisive, because what that means is they're open to information, and that's what we want. We want to give women the information that they need to make the decision that's essential for them. And Pat said, because recently Carolyn Leckie, who's one of the founders of Women for Independence, pointed out the fact that where you don't have representation, but you continue to be disproportionately affected by some of the cuts, and also the taxation, control of taxation in this country, is actually representation without taxation. And at that point I was listening to her speech and I thought, I never even thought about it that way. So the subtleties of where the power lies and who that disproportionately affects and how is really, really important. But things have moved on in this Yes campaign, and the horror of food banks is upon us. We now live in a society where I sat in my work the other day with my colleagues, and we discussed how we should be partnering up with the food banks, so the young people that were coming through, who are survivors of abuse, who are coming through our project, who are being delayed and sanctioned by a welfare system that does not recognise their vulnerability and needs, they can't afford to eat. So we were talking about partnering up with food banks to make sure that the least they can get is some food when they arrive at our accommodation, and also how we can respond to the cuts that are caused to them through sanctions, which are totally unrealistic and outrageous. And what kind of society do we live in that has food banks? I'm not proud of it anymore. I'm very proud of my country. I am not proud of our current situation. It's a disgrace. And it's a disgrace that Westminster don't seem to think that's important. It's a disgrace that our government in Westminster is no longer seen as a mechanism for protecting the vulnerable, but it's now used as a mechanism to punish them. And we cannot live in a society where we punish people for being vulnerable. It's outrageous. And women and children are disproportionately affected by that. What is? It's an absolute disgrace. And yesterday the Deputy Prime Minister, our wonderful Mr Clegg, spoke of false patriotism by people using the bulldog to criticise the EU. The hypocrisy is unbelievable, absolutely unbelievable. And Better Together will criticise people like me, who want my parties to take responsibility to do what they've been elected to do. They will criticise me as being a nationalist. I'm not a nationalist. I'm somebody that believes that we have a right to take responsibility for our decisions. And this isn't about nationalism. When people are painting about the SNP, I'm not SNP, but that's irrelevant. It's irrelevant whether I'm SNP or not, I'm not. But it's not about nationalism, it's become a dirty word. This is about Scottish people reaching out and grasping that nettle and taking responsibility. That's what this is about. And when politicians that we have been paying and who we have voted for turn around and say, no, we don't want to take responsibility, because that's what they're telling us. We're paying them and they're refusing to take responsibility, then we have to. I don't think it's healthy for a government not to be frightened of its electorate. It's not healthy for a government to believe that they cannot be voted out by the people they represent. Do I trust the politicians that will go in after we get yes? Probably not. Politicians have proven themselves time and time again to be unreliable, to shift the ground after you've voted them in. But I'll tell you something, we'll vote them out again. When they are frightened of our vote, that is when they'll respond to our needs, and only then will they respond to our needs. So if they copy their mentors down in Westminster, they'll be getting it.